All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unpacking a truly foundational tool, one that's been a secret weapon for consultants and business leaders for decades, the McKinsey 7S framework. It's an incredible model for getting to the heart of how a company really works. So, what is it, really? Think of it like a complete health check for your organization. It gives you a way to look under the hood and see if all the critical parts of your company are actually working together, in harmony. Because that alignment, that's what lets a business truly thrive in a market that's always changing. Now, here's the brilliant part. The framework splits these 7 elements into 2 camps. On one side, you've got the hard S's. These are the things you can point to. The strategy documents, the org charts, the software systems. They're the skeleton of the company, tangible and pretty easy to identify. But on the other side, you have the soft S's. And this is the soul of the company. We're talking about the culture, the leadership style, the skills people bring to the table. They're way harder to pin down, but honestly, they're often what really drives success. And the key thing to remember is that none of these exist in a vacuum. You pull a lever on one and you'll feel it ripple through all the others. Okay, so let's start with that foundation, right? The concrete pillars of any organization, the hard elements. First up is strategy. And look, this is way more than just some nice-sounding mission statement you hang on a wall. A real strategy is the detailed, deliberate game plan a company has for winning. It's the roadmap that answers the single most important question. How are we actually going to beat the competition and succeed? When you're looking at it like a consultant, a good strategy is basically a bridge. It connects that big, inspiring vision at the top with what every single person is doing on the ground, day in and day out. It makes you answer those tough questions, right? Like, where are we going to compete? How are we going to win? And what really truly makes us different from everybody else? It's all about creating that clear path to stability and profit. Next, we've got structure. This is pretty much the company's blueprint. Yeah, it's the org chart, but it's more than just boxes and lines. It spells out who reports to whom and how all the different departments are meant to work together. This formal setup dictates how information moves around, and maybe most importantly, how decisions get made. But here's the thing. In today's world, a rigid, old-school hierarchy just doesn't cut it. The real goal now is to smash those internal silos, the walls between marketing, sales, product, and engineering. A smart structure actually encourages collaboration, so the business can stay nimble and avoid hitting those dreaded growth plateaus. And the last of the hard elements is systems. This is all the stuff that makes the business actually run every day. We're talking about everything from the big financial systems to the CRM your sales team lives in. These are the operational rails that the entire company runs on. And let's be real, in this day and age, your systems determine your speed. Modern systems have to be data-driven. We're talking about automated decision-making, AI-powered growth engines that let you test, learn, and iterate at a speed that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. If your systems are clunky, your company is clunky. Simple as that. Okay, let's move over to the other side of the framework. Because if the hard elements are the skeleton, then these soft elements, they're the heart and soul of the organization. This is the cultural core. Right at the very center of the whole model, you'll find shared values. This is your culture. It's the company's DNA, its core beliefs. It's all those unwritten rules that tell people what to do when the boss isn't looking. It's just the way we do things around here. And this is so, so critical for marketing. Think about it. If your ads all talk about being innovative, but your internal culture punishes failure, customers will sniff that out in a second. It's basically like putting lipstick on a pig. When what you say on the outside perfectly matches what you do on the inside, that's authenticity, and that's how you build real, lasting trust. Next up is style, and this one is all about leadership. But, and this is a big but, it's not about what leaders say. It's about what they do, what they spend their time on, which projects get their attention, who they promote. Those actions speak way louder than any all-hands meeting ever could. They send the clearest signal of what truly matters. The best leadership style today? It's adaptive, it's collaborative. It's about getting the best ideas out there, not letting ego win the day. And it means embracing what some people call a ready, fire, aim mindset. That means you value action and learning over getting stuck in analysis paralysis. You're willing to try things, fail fast, and just keep getting better. All right, moving on to staff. This element covers your entire approach to people. How do you find them? How do you hire them? How do you develop them? And crucially, how do you keep them? It's about making sure your team has the skills for today and that you're building the skills you're going to need for tomorrow. Honestly, you could argue this is the most important S of them all. I mean, you can have a world-class strategy, but it's your people who have to make it happen. And what's really interesting is how this role is changing. Employees are becoming a company's best influencers, their most authentic content creators. They're the real faces of the brand. And finally, we have skills. This is about what the organization as a whole is exceptionally good at. For a company like Apple, a core skill is obviously world-class design. For Amazon, it's gotta be logistics. This is your company's superpower, the thing that gives you that unique edge. To really win, you have to figure out what your areas of excellence are and just double down on them. Looking forward, one of the biggest skills out there is going to be design taste, that ability to craft amazing experiences. Specializing in what you're best at is what separates the good from the truly great. So we've broken down all 7 elements. That's great. But the real question is, how do you actually use this thing? And maybe just as important, what are the common traps people fall into? Okay, using it is actually pretty straightforward. Here's a quick 3-step process. First, you do an audit. You just look for the gaps. Ask those hard questions. Do we have this high-tech strategy, but our staff doesn't have the skills to execute it? That's a huge misalignment. Second, you can work backward. Decide on the values and culture you want, then build the systems and structure to make that culture a reality. And third, please remember this isn't a one-and-done thing. You have to keep scanning the world outside to make sure your whole setup is still relevant. Now, you've got to be careful to avoid these classic mistakes. The absolute biggest one is only focusing on the hard stuff, the strategy and systems, while completely ignoring the people and the culture. That is a one-way ticket to a toxic workplace. Another trap is thinking of this as a static picture. Your business is always moving, so your analysis has to be a live navigation tool. And finally, please, don't jump into tactics before the strategy is solid. That just leads to a whole lot of content volume with zero content value. Okay, let's bring it all home. Let's see what this looks like when you put all the pieces together and everything is just clicking perfectly in sync. This alignment matrix is just a fantastic way to pull it all together. You can see exactly how each S connects to a strategic driver and then a concrete action. So for example, look at staff. The driver is that employees are now internal creators. So what's the action? You hire for cultural fit and people who are self-starters. Or look at skills. The driver is design taste. The action? You have to zig when everyone else zags and create insanely high-quality content. This is how you turn a theoretical model into a real, actionable playbook. And in the end, all this hard internal work, getting your strategy, your structure, your systems, and your culture all lined up, it really serves just one ultimate purpose. And nobody said it better than the legend himself, Peter Drucker. The whole point is to create an organization that is so in tune with its customers that your products just feel like a perfect fit. And when you get that right, well, the selling part kind of takes care of itself.